magnets. I am so excited to be with you guys today. We are talking about new gifts. The title of our talk tonight is New Earth, New Gifts. So, yeah, you guessed it. We're talking about the new gifts that are coming online as we go into New Earth, okay? And we're just going to get right to it tonight. I don't plan to talk very long, but I do want to point out some things to you that are probably already coming into your awareness, but you may or may not be connecting the dots quite yet. Okay. So, you guys, the first thing that I want to talk to you about that is coming online is unified awareness. Okay, this is what I'm calling it right now. This is just how I'm describing it to you. I want to use this term unified awareness just to kind of point towards something that is occurring and something that is available now. But I am being cautioned against naming things, okay? Especially naming things as something that you already know, okay? Naming things as something that you already know, okay? Um, and that's very important because as totally new gifts, totally new perceptions, totally new awarenesses come into our field, if we name them as something that we already know, then we are limiting what is possible. We're limiting what we can perceive if we name the new gifts as something that we already know. Okay, so I really want to caution you about that as I'm being cautioned about that. Okay, greetings, Zena Electra. I'm so glad to see you on here. You guys, I got a bomb reading from Zena the other day. We'll talk about that in just a little bit and how I was witnessing her gifts operate in the reading, and which is not new for her. I've gotten readings from Zena for quite a while now, but I'm seeing her gifts grow just as I'm seeing my own gifts grow and other people around me, other soul family members of mine, other people in my tribe. So what is this thing that I'm referring to as unified awareness? Okay, unified awareness. Thank you guys, everybody. Please say hello as you come into the room. Unified awareness is the disappearing or the dissolution of the separation between realms or dimensions. Okay, this is something that is happening now. Okay, and that's just one way of describing it. Another way I want to describe it is as your vibration raises, you are now able to perceive that there is actually no separation in between realms. Okay, so this is two ways of describing it. The separation is dissolving, and or is it that as your vibration, as you vibrate higher and higher, you are now actually able to perceive that there always has been no separation in between realms. And what do I mean when I say no separation in between realms or dimensions? I'm saying that, and we've all heard this before, that there is no past, present, and future, right? Time is just an illusion, okay? And I'm feeling my body getting warm now, so I know I'm cooking. Time is an illusion. There is no past, present, or future. Linear time is simply a way that we experience happenings, occurrences in the earth dimension, in the earth school, right? And this is a means of slowing things down so that we can get particular lessons. And we agreed to come here and experience this so that we can experience particular lessons in our time here in earth school. Okay, so if everything were happening all at once and we were, in dimensions where we were always able to perceive that, there's not the same challenge as there is of being slowed down into one dimension. Okay, it really causes you to focus in and interact with one thing at a time, which is a challenge. This is a challenge that we've been experiencing, and perhaps because we don't have the memory of being in dimensions where we were experiencing everything at one time, perhaps we were not aware that that is the challenge, right? If you think that something is, this is the way it's always been, or of course it's this way, how, what other way could it be? Then you may not recognize that that is the challenge, okay? But um, so I really want us to focus in on this. I want to talk about what unified awareness may look like to you. And you may be experiencing these things yourself, or you may begin to experience these things in no limit of time, okay? In a short period of time, very soon here, if you're not already experiencing these things. One of the ways that this can look is um, meeting meeting your friends in the astral. Okay, that's just one I want to bring up. I don't know why, I don't have a particular reason for starting there. It's not saying it's the most important or anything like that. But meeting your friends in the astral and being able to interact with people in the astral in new ways. If you have already experienced this, give me some fire in the chat, because I know a lot of you are already experiencing this. Drop some comments. Tell me that it's you if you've already experienced this. Now, this would be, it could take a couple of different forms. You may be meeting friends in the astral in the sense that, if you're a type of person that likes to talk about your dreams that you have with your friends, and you tell your friends a dream, and your friend goes, hold on, I had a very similar dream. Tell me more. Oh, wait, was the dream like this? And before you know it, your friend is finishing your sentences and telling you what happened in your dream, because they were there too. Whether you saw them or not, okay? Whether you saw them or not, they were there. But a lot of times in your dream, you can see your friends in your dream. And if you mention it to them, you will find out that they had the same dream. They were in the exact same place with the exact same incident happened that happened for me recently. That a friend of mine, we both days later just so happened to mention this dream. And as we told each other about the dream, we were both there. I had seen her there and she had seen me there, but the exact same experience happened. The exact same incident happened as the same way it would in real life. Okay. Now, another way that this could happen is that you're dreaming about people and you're wondering, why am I seeing these people in my dreams? I don't think about these people in my everyday life. They don't seem, important to me. They don't seem, they're not significant in my everyday life. But for some reason, I'm dreaming about random people when I go to sleep at night. Why is that happening? Because these same people are also experiencing a level of awakening that is resonant with your level of awakening. Or perhaps they are coming into a dimension or field that you're already in. So all of a sudden you're dreaming about these people that you're like, why is this person coming into my dreams? I don't even talk to them. I haven't seen them in years. Somebody, in my family or somebody I went to school with, you're having a dream and all of a sudden they're there. Why? Because they are also experiencing awakening coming into this dimension. Give me some fire in the chat if this has been happening to you. Consider that. Why would you randomly dream of these people? Now, it can happen that, that person can, they can represent something to you, a part of you. That can also be another aspect of the explanation of what's happening. But do not discount the idea or fail to consider the idea that this person is also having an awakening. And I encourage you guys, as long as it's not, a problem for you to look this person up, or somebody, negative in your life, look them up. Just even if you just look at their page and see if it looks like, oh, they're posting spiritual stuff now. That's interesting, right? Or if it's a person that it's cool to reach out to, talk to them and see where they're at. If you want to prove it to yourself, I encourage you to do that. Okay. What else can this look like? Okay, guys, we're gonna go there. We're gonna talk about telepathy. Okay. We're gonna talk about telepathy. And again, I'm cautioning us against naming these occurrences, these gifts, these awarenesses as things that we already know, but I'm just using that term to kind of point you toward what I'm referring to. Now, what I'm referring to is telepathy. Part of it is, communicating without speaking. Okay, that is part of it. Okay, but here's a new aspect that's coming in because telepathy has been a thing for a while for those who are open to it and those who are, vibrating at a certain frequency, as well as those who are just naturally gifted in that way because they have not been conditioned out of it. But it actually is a natural state for us. Okay. We are conditioned out of it as very young children. Okay. If you've experienced instances of telepathy, drop a comment, give me some fire in the chat. Let me know that's you. Okay. But this is going beyond just communicating with someone without speaking. Okay, so if that blows your mind, I know most people who watch this channel, that's not a mind blower. Okay, but another way that this is showing up is not only communicating without words, but also, and this is a form of unified awareness. This is under the umbrella of unified awareness, y'all. Another way this is showing up is that when you hear someone talking and telling a story, okay, you are not only hearing that and listening to what they tell you that experience was like for them, but you notice yourself beginning to experience or be able to sense and feel what that experience was like from their perspective. Okay. So this is not just, oh, I'm hearing about something that happened outside of me. It's not that. This is, I'm hearing about something, I'm aware of something, someone's making me aware of something they experienced. And as they tell me, not only did I already kind of have, does this sound familiar to me as though I've already heard it, but when I hear the story, I am now able to feel what they felt in the moment that it happened, and perhaps even able to feel what it felt like to be each person in the story, right? So let me give an example. Say your friend calls you up and tells you that they experienced, they encountered someone that was having road rage today. Okay. Say someone called you and said, hey, somebody cut me off on the road and they were, going crazy. They went off on me and it was a scary experience. So as you hear what your friend is telling you that this happened to them, you begin to feel in your body what it felt like. Hi, Mackenzie, 23567. How are you? You begin to feel what that felt like, right? But also what it felt like for your friend who's telling the story, but you also are able to, or maybe able to sense what it felt like to be that person that had the road rage. It's as if you are there and you are there having the experience from your friend's perspective and the other people or person in the story. Okay. This is, it's beyond telepathy. Okay. And this is why I'm telling you, let's not name stuff. Okay. This is actually experiencing a separate, the dissolution or the dissolving of the separation that appears to be between realms and dimensions. Now, what realm and dimension am I talking about? We talked about dreams and we talked about time, but this is the dissolving or dissolution of the idea or the experience that we have as being an individual, right? Because in fact, we are all each other. Why are we all each other? Because we are all source experiencing itself as us. So we are all a part of source. We are all different aspects and different experiences that source chose to come here and have. So if we go with that, when we go with that idea that source decided to experience itself as all these different people, all these individuated consciousnesses, that was a separation, right? Or creating an illusion of separation, right? So we are now going into a new phase, you guys, where that separation is now coming back together, which is why I'm giving this term unified awareness. Okay, this is where this is coming from. Okay, because source separated its awareness, right, into all these individual experiences. And now Source is beginning to unify again. Okay. So, you guys, you're going to be able to sense this in different experiences that you're having. And I'm encouraging you to share with me in the comments as these things are happening. I've talked to many people that are having these different experiences. I had a friend of mine. I got, if y'all been following my channel, you know already that I've been having all these experiences over the last couple of years of identifying my soul family, finding my tribe. So I now have a lot of different people in my life that are also on their spiritual awakening and having all of these different things happen. Okay, I've got two things I want to share with you: the actual experiences, and then we'll talk about awakening these gifts, okay, and expanding them, and then we'll wrap up. Okay, so I had one experience the other day where one friend had shared a poem with me that she wrote. Okay, now this poem that she wrote was inspired by something I told her I experienced. Okay, and I was just describing to her how I was feeling that day, the energy of that day, some things that were happening in the collective, some things that I was transmuting for the collective, something that was happening in the field, right? But a phrase that I used inspired her to write a poem. When she wrote the poem, it wasn't directly about a specific incident that I experienced. What she was writing about was all the background things that had happened. Like, I mean, this is all the background things, like everything from like past lives to just she has a way of putting pen to paper and describing things that we just sometimes don't have words for, right? This could be past life experiences, this can be just energy that's in the field. And she put words to what I was experiencing that I was still exploring and figuring out at the time that I spoke to her. So it felt like when I heard her read the poem to me, it felt like I was speaking, because again, that's that separation, right? Between she and I, it is dissolving. The separation between individuated consciousness is dissolving. Okay, so not only was she able to write this poem that expressed something that was happening just deep within me that I didn't even have words for yet. Not only that, but when I shared that poem with a friend of mine, another friend of mine, she experienced the poem not only by hearing it, but by seeing colors. She was seeing colors. Okay. Now, synesthesia is something that we're already aware of. We don't hear a lot about it. Only person I can think of, there are more people, names that you would recognize that have it, but one person I can think of that has talked about it openly is Kanye West. I don't know if that's the best example to use because people have a lot of like polarizing thoughts and ideas about Kanye. But at the end of the day, he's a person who's been open and talked openly about experiencing synesthesia, which means sounds turning into colors, experiencing sound as colors. So this is a blending, again, another dissolution of a separation between senses, okay, between your senses, okay, as is, experiencing the astral world, your dream world, as though you were awake. Okay, so that is two examples of the dissolution of an apparent an apparent or like an illusion of separation between the senses, right? Now, why is that important, you guys? Because if we understand and know and believe that we are spirits here having a physical experience, but that our body is not us, and that the real us is our light body, our energy body, our spirit, we only have senses in the body. We have the five senses as something that we experience in the body. And when you begin to experience this world, the universe, outside of your body and just as a spirit, and not only through the body, then of course you're going to be experiencing more than one quote unquote sense at a time. Right? You will experience yourself in new ways that are not limited by your physicality. If that makes sense, give me some fire in the chat. If you've had any experience like this, or this is awakening, this is activating a new understanding for you, give me some fire in the chat. If this is shedding light on a recent experience you've had, or even an old experience you had that you didn't quite understand at the time, but this is kind of shedding light on that, give me some comments, give me some fire in the chat. Okay. Now, another situation that I had, this, let's go back to this reading I got from Zena Electra. Now, I asked Zena to give me an astrology reading because Zena is very good with astrology. Okay. Now, I've always said to Zena, as I've been getting readings from her on and off, probably, is it 2 years now? Zena, she's in the chat. Probably 2 years now. Okay. And I always tell her, girl, your astrology readings read like a tarot reading, you know, like it's just I've not, because it's always a multi-dimensional reading. That's always been the case, right? So I got a reading from her the other day because of all of the beautiful planetary alignments that are happening, and I've been listening for a while and hearing, what this means globally. But I was like, I wonder where, this conjunction or whatever, what house that's in for me or whatever. I think I'm learning a little bit about astrology, y'all, but it's really not my thing. I have to call somebody for stuff like that, for this specific information. And I was curious, so I called her for a reading, y'all. Zena went straight psychic on me. Zena started not only telling me what's in my chart, but she started referring to things that were happening for me right now in my real life, things that had happened in my dreams within the last few days. It felt like she had been listening to my conversations with another friend of mine, the one I was telling you that wrote the poem, and the one that I met in the astral. It felt like she had been listening to our conversations because the reading was so on point. And she said, yes, it's 2 or 3 years now. Yes. So also, she told me something that happened when I got off the phone with her. She said, somebody's going to give you money. And like, if she was just, listen, if she was just going off of the astrological, my chart, that shouldn't have happened until the, I think it's the next new moon or full moon or something that was ahead, something that has not happened yet. She was like, this is going to be the time, where you're going to receive, this is for other people's money. Somebody's going to give you some money. Within an hour of me getting off the phone with her, I got somebody called and gave me some money. Okay. Now, it was all these different gifts, not just the gift of which is really like a skill. Astrological readings are like knowledge based, but this was also extremely intuitive. Okay. It was super lit. It was super lit, you guys. And it was just, and what was more awesome about it is I haven't talked to Zena in a while. I have not talked to her. She doesn't have any knowledge of, what's currently going on in my life. We just hadn't had a chance to chat in the last few months. So it really was a perfect time for a reading. But it was just, yeah, she really leaned into her intuition, and it was different. So that was a blending of senses, gifts, right? It was not a separation. They were not separated into, oh, this is just an astrology reading. Or, if you get a tarot reading and they just do tarot. There were many different factors happening in that reading. Okay. So let's talk about, you guys, everything, because I don't want this to be too long. I want to skip to the part where we talk about how to activate, how to explore and create more with these gifts. And this is just what we know so far, but more and more is coming in now. There will be so much more available probably by the time, many of you even see this video. Okay. This is just what I'm sensing, the dots I'm able to connect right now. Okay. And on some of the dots I'm able to connect right now. And connecting the dots is also a new gift, you guys, because sometimes something can happen. You can do a meditation over here, and then you have a different experience, in another area of your life or months later, and you don't tie it back to what you asked for or what you tapped into in that meditation because you are looking for it to show up as something you have named, right? Something you've named as a thing that you already know, but it showed up in a different way, so therefore you didn't recognize it. Okay. So one of the ways that you can activate or explore and begin to create with these gifts is to stay in flow. Okay. And what I mean by staying in flow is if it's not necessary to always make some kind of an immediate declaration or decision, like a naming or signing of a meaning to something when it happens, at the moment that it happens. Okay. If you observe something in someone or something that's happening in your life, say we always talk about love on this channel, so let's make it a relationship, right? And you're like, I see my partner's moving a little different, or we had this conversation and I didn't, quite like the way that it felt. It felt different. Don't be in a hurry to make up your mind about what's happening there and to name it and to say, oh, well, for instance, I'm done communicating with this person. That's a declaration, right? I no longer, am making space for this person, in my life because of yada, yada, yada. That's a declaration. That's a decision. Okay. Now, I'm in no way suggesting that you should let anyone, treat you poorly or anything like that. I'm in no way suggesting that at all. But what I am saying is that you don't have to be in a rush to make a decision about what's happening, to name it, right? You can stay in flow by continuing to observe. Now, what you're doing primarily is observing your own patterns, okay? Observing your own patterns, which is also a huge part of the healing process, right? But observing your own patterns. And as you observe your own patterns, what you're doing, you're staying in flow by still keeping the channel open to receive love, to reciprocate love, and to keep love in your life in this example of it in a relationship, okay? Which is very important because even if this person is not the person, or whatever, very few relationships in your life are going to last forever. So let's stop letting that be the thing that you use to judge as a success or failure. Let's let's judge it by what we learn and what we experience, how we grow and expand in that relationship, right? Let's think about that. But not you're the first thing that you're doing is keeping love in your life rather than being quick to shut off a channel, a portal through which you can receive love. Now, this makes sense because if what you're wanting to attract into your life is love, keep as many different types of love in your life as you can. If you're really quick to shut people off and shut down and cut off, then you're not keeping the channels open in your life for love energy to flow in your life in different circles, okay, in different instances, different relationships, okay? So the first thing you're doing is staying in flow that way. The second thing you're doing is observing your own patterns because you want to become aware, if you're not already, of the difference between when you're really interacting with that person and when you're interacting with your past trauma, okay? Sometimes we think we're interacting with that person, but we're really interacting with our past trauma because we were not even hearing what they say. They may say something that triggers us and we kind of contract, right? But when you contract and you step back into yourself, you step back beyond this line, this threshold, which was a threshold of actual communication when you're open and really hearing what they're expressing to you, and you're open to what they're experiencing right now and what they're trying to communicate to you, because maybe they had a poor word choice, right? But you want to you're stepping back into a field in which you're only hearing yourself and your thoughts, and remembering what happened in the past. Like, oh, I know what this is. I've seen this before. I've experienced this before. And now you're interacting with your trauma and not really interacting with them. Okay. So when you begin to observe your own patterns, instead of shutting down and becoming afraid, you begin to um, you have an opportunity to observe yourself in your own patterns, and perhaps have the opportunity to further delineate um, the difference between yourself and them, right? Where you guys are a lot alike, the ways in which is the shared experience, and the ways in which these experiences are actually separate. And this is I'm realizing as we're going to talk about this, that is really a heavy topic, and maybe we're not going to be able to flesh all that out right now, but it is it is important, because for instance, as an empath, sometimes someone can express something that's very painful for them, and you begin to experience that as your pain, right? So that can make you pull back, or it can make you go in and begin to attend to that person in a way that's actually detrimental to you. And that needs to be brought in balance. Okay. Why does that need to be brought in balance? Because we're going into this time where the ability, the opportunity to interact in this field with others who are coming into what we're calling is a type of telepathy, or a branch off or offshoot of telepathy, or the ability to communicate without speaking, and to supersede our senses, our five senses, and to expand upon our senses, and utilize these new gifts. How will you do that and still maintain your life? We're still on the 3D level. Our day-to-day lives, it's not super duper different. We still have all these work, family, like all the regular tasks of our everyday life. How do you maintain that um, as everything begins to blend, where you do have telepathy and you still have your outside, your external communication, and your operations in a regular everyday 3D life? If you're not able to delineate what is really me and my thoughts, my desires, what's safe for me, what's not safe for me, right? What is my experience versus their experience, right? The intellectual examination of that is still necessary, right? And as you master that intellectual examination, it also helps you to rise in frequency as you like begin to heal those past traumas, and actually be able to utilize these gifts and not have it be something that's disorienting for you. Okay. Now, I want to name one more thing that's going to help you, besides staying in flow and not just like shutting yourself off, right? Shutting off opportunities for you to experience love, right? Another way to expand into these gifts and activate these gifts is going to be when you do your meditations, when you do, visualizations. I want to encourage you, rather than beginning with some point that's outside of you. A lot of times, we like to connect to the cosmos, or connect to Mother Gaia, or something that we view as external, which is nothing wrong with that. But I want to invite you. To begin playing with always making your initial point of reference internal. Okay, internal things that are within your field of awareness that you would consider internal. Okay. So for example, if you do a meditation or a visualization and you're normally imagining something that's out in space or out in a forest or whatever, instead of finding the cosmos outside of you, find it inside of you. Okay. Find the planets, which are just representations of energy bodies, find them internally. Okay, so if you're thinking of Venus, you're thinking of Jupiter, you're thinking of Mars, you're thinking of, um, a meteor or whatever, you're imagining to get outside of yourself. Find, ask yourself, where do I feel that in my body? Where do I feel that inside in my inner world? And allow your inner world to expand. Okay, this is something I want to invite you guys to play around with, and perhaps we'll have an opportunity to talk about that more later in a different live or in a different video. But start bringing things internal to your internal world inside of your physical body, and connecting that to your internal spiritual experience, because everything that manifests happens in the spirit world first. Okay, so this is taking us right back to that conversation about all things happening at the same time. There's no past, present, and future, right? So in order for us to really tap into that, let's tap in to the spirit world, the spiritual realm, where things are happening first, quote unquote. What I'm really saying is that everything that we see externally is really a reflection of what's happening internally. Okay, so as you want to become more effective, more powerful in affecting your external reality, because as we know, we're all creating our own reality. Let's start with the internal. Okay, so even if you want to play around with some old visualizations and meditations that you've done before, play around with making those internal. Okay, flipping the vision to be internal. Okay, and speaking to your body, speaking to your subconscious mind. Okay, so I want to go, you guys. Thank you guys so much for interacting today in the chat. I didn't get an opportunity to take questions, but if you guys comment with your questions, I do go back and check my comments. So perhaps we can communicate that way. But I will see you guys again soon. I hope this was helpful to many of you. Thanks so much for the support in the chat and letting me know that this does resonate for you. And I will see you again soon on another episode of Attracting Love Energy. Greetings. Also, shout out to the Elemental Soul. If you like this type of content, if you like spiritual content, I highly recommend that you check out the Elemental Soul. I am a content creator with the Elemental Soul also. Um, you may have already seen some of my videos and some of the other great videos that are on the Elemental Soul YouTube channel. But there is also an app called the Elemental Soul that you can download that has so much awesome spiritual content. Um, Anything that you can imagine: channeled messages, meditations, visualizations, content, about your chakras and yoga stuff. So I encourage everybody to check that out. Have a wonderful night. Peace and blessings.